So the question of the day is, should there be an age limit on when your parents should stop supporting you financially?
No.
How do you think this affects the person's ability to be financially responsible?
I feel like you should give me money, however long.
I didn't ask you.
I feel like that's my parent, my guardian. If they want to give me money, I might as well.
You know what? If we get old enough where we can give each other money,
Yes.
Like you give me money, then at the end of the day I know like you raised me well enough to know that I'll repay you at some point in time. But like I could be 36 and you could still be giving me money and I'll be okay with it.
Completely.
Like it's fine.
Officially.
Who doesn't want extra money? Come on.
I think it's important to know how to be independent. Don't get me wrong.
I didn't ask to be here.
That's my point.
Send me back.
That's right.
Please take me where I came from.
Personally,
What do you
I asked for
mean?
this.
Okay, I'm not gonna like that. I love it with all my heart. It is spectacular. It's great that they give me money, but at some point, which is like now, I'm starting to feel like, bro, I'm really still taking money from my parents' past, like still.
I mean, yeah. After a while, you definitely don't want to get money from your parents. But I feel like you should be able to get money until you finish adding the amount of value you think you need to add to yourself. So,
That's what they said too, like for them. Oh, go ahead, guys.
No, I was saying, I feel like there's two thoughts that we're going back and forth between. One is financial independence, and then what the question actually said, which is like financial responsibility. Because it's completely possible that your parents could give you money, but you're responsible with the money versus being able to support yourself independent of them. Like,
Well, yeah, okay. So like I've been supporting myself for like since I graduated, and like I have no problem supporting myself. I see I'm careful with my money and everything. But like, okay, so I'm going home in April. My mother offered to pay for half of my ticket home, and I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, that's great. Like you're offering to do this for me. I know I can still like afford to buy the ticket myself, but she's offering to pay for half of my ticket. I'm not gonna tell my mother no.
Damn right.
Like, even though I can pay for my ticket myself, she's offering to pay for half of my ticket. I'm like, okay, I will take it. Who would I say no to my mother? It's crazy.
You can't be disrespectful.
Honestly.
But you know what's so crazy? I think it's easier for a young lady to say that they don't care how long their parents giving them money for, as long as they don't give it to them.
It's true.
But as a young man, I feel like after a certain point in time, you shouldn't want to accept that money, and I don't feel like your parents should want to give you that money no more.
I get what you're saying.
Because, I mean, it might be a double standard, but that's just the realities of the world, you know? Like, men are looked at as providers. We might not necessarily be providers, but we looked at as providers. So, like, I feel like if after a certain point in time, you can't make up in your mind to decide that it's important for me to be both financially responsible and independent for myself.
Okay, well, take it in a situation like, okay, like you've graduated and everything, and like you try your best to like send money home like every month, like okay, cool, like I'm going to send a portion of my paycheck to you as my parent, and at the end of the day, they're like, okay, I'm going to be giving this money. Would you still accept it at that point?
I mean, yeah, but I think what we're talking about is two different things. Like, I feel like okay, it's good to put, if you was to put a broad number on it, let's say now, or 25, I'm supposed to be financially independent. 26, I supposed to at least have a minimum wage or where I pay my rent, feed myself. You know? It's easy to say that, but I think the reality of the situation is you have to wait until you mentally mature enough to handle that. And I think financial responsibility is something that people take really lightly, you know? I think a lot of people rush into financial independence before they're financially responsible. Like, so even though it's good to say, put a square, like, 24, 25, you're financially independent, you don't need no money from nobody. I could be a 25-year-old with a job, and I could be in the same position I am in by the time I was like 30, right? And you could be a person who graduated at 28, financially dependent on your parents until you're 28. And in the 2 years you get your job, you educated enough and you know how to handle that money. I feel like it's no dire effects on your life.
I feel like it's a head start if anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
you're in an advantageous position. And then like your parents want to do it, why would you shut that down?
Yeah.
It's like legitimately making your life easier. But the question was asking if like, well, implying if you get money past a certain age.
Yeah, if there should be an age limit.
No.
I think
it should.
Before you
the age limit. I mean, if we were to do one, I just said, you think 30? What the fuck?
I have a cousin, right? I have a cousin. She was in school, like, she had a baby when she was young, and she had the baby. She used to work, but she still used to live with her parents. She used to work to take care of her baby. You know what I mean? And then, like, later on, she started school, and she was older, but she still had a baby to take care of, and not until she finished school and I don't want to say, get her life in order, set herself up. Then she was able to go out, and her son and her living a really good life. And she was taken care of by her parents for the most part. They provided a house.
Oh, we were saying 30 was just like a short amount of time. We were saying more than 30.
Oh, what? No, I was saying less than 30.
Oh, you were saying less than 30?
Yes.
What get
I
your
agree with your
life?
point though, like there is different situations and each person has different situations because you don't know how, like let's say somebody doing med school, like that you're gonna be in school forever, right? And you can't be working a side job and doing med because you in the hospitals for like 24 hours sometimes, right? Like you need to feel as if you're comfortable enough to have like that safety net, like okay, mommy and daddy got me until I done school. But guess what? When you done school, you make enough, so you can cover them up after that. So it just depends on different situations, right? Like you don't know how long, you don't know present situation, you don't know when somebody's going to be in and out of school. You don't know if somebody's going to come back at school at 25 and finish at 27, and they may need their parents to help till that time, and then when they on them, right?
But then, like, I think like it also has to do with like because we've all been brought up differently. Like we're all gonna give different ages of what to say. Like okay, like with me, I have three younger siblings. Like I knew as soon as I finished university, my mother was not going to support me. Period, and I'm only 22. So at the end of the day, like I know like I need to be financially responsible.
But you're in a situation where you can be. So you're done school, they've helped you up to that point, and up to that point, you are now supposed to be looking out for your best interests. So I guess age doesn't really matter. It's just your maturity level, or maybe
exactly like that's what I'm saying. We're all brought up differently to say like, hey, like okay, like there's another 22-year-old like that's gonna be like, okay, cool, like I just graduated, I'm still gonna rely on mommy and daddy. Let's go. Like it really all depends on like your situation.
Yeah. I feel like the upbringing has a really big part to play with it in terms of how your parents brought you up. Because with me, I kind of grew up really old school. My mother had me working from the time I was like primary school. So like I know of the value of money and what you have to do to get money. So like the way my mother brought me up with that type of mindset, when I get older, secondary school, college, my mind not really on materialistic things because I know the value of things in life. I know how to appreciate things when you get a job and you have to set aside money and this type of thing. So I feel like the upbringing has a really, really big part to play with it. Yeah.
I think like everyone's saying, like your financial position too, especially if you was to make it as far as college, coming from a humble beginning, right? If you was to make it this far, I feel like as soon as you have the opportunity to, even let's say you were on scholarship, you would feel inclined to say, okay, let me get this job. I earn scholarship because I feel like you have you get more maturity. More drive, and you have a lot more. You know the work and the sacrifice. You understand.
They talk together.
Do you feel that there's an age that your parents should put you out? Like that they should say you could no longer live here?
No.
I don't.
No.
Some people are like that though, where they're like 18-year-olds.
Your parents should definitely be encouraging dude. It's like, hey, you need to look into this so. But I feel like to actually just be like, yo, get on my house.
That's tough though.
But I
should reserve the right to be able to kick a grown man or woman.
But it's within your right.
Yeah, it's within your right, but it's not like.
But do you feel like you should?
I don't think you should.
But at the same time, the parent knows the type of child they brought up. Though. Like you know if your child is just a couch potato, or your child ambitious because you brought up your child.
Like you
you
see them
instill the stuff into your child. So
Like,
if your child 20, if your child 45 and they still at your home, that's your fault. That's really your fault.
Okay, my brother's still at home with my parents, but both of them have really high paying jobs. Like my brother travels all over the world. He travels with Shaggy and everything with his music. But my parents, for them, they don't care that he's still home because he's still making money. You get what I mean?
They don't care. No. If you say you care, like if you want him out, and he care about or he doesn't want to, that's your fault.
What they're doing with their life.
Right. Like you can't be living in your parents' house and have woman and a bunch of children and everybody living in your parents' house. Like you reach a point where it is time for you to go out on your own
to see the real life.
So that's what
I think from you decide that you want to have woman or move in with your wife.
Okay, like I guess your brother is living at home, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Like he's probably like contributing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
If I was to get into an established relationship with this nice job and we ready to take it to the next step where we're ready to live together or get engaged or something like that, I can't see myself living.
I can't see myself.
Now I think it's a different story if I was to have a baby, and now my son is stay with me or my daughter stay with me, or my daughter or my son has come to visit me while I still with my parents. I may not think it a big deal because they can help me with the baby anyway.
I guess.
Even now when I go back home after like spending the time out here, well I have a roommate but like living on my own.
Yeah.
And I go back and I'm with my parents and they wake up in the morning, hey, come go this.
No,
My father wake me up in the morning, go cut the
Like when we think about it, so we're all international. We think about it, like we've all like moved out of home, moved out away from home. We've been living out of the house for like 4 or 5 years now. Then we have friends that stayed at home and they're still living in the same childhood home. Like we've all developed differently too. Then like we've obviously come up with like a different sense of like financial responsibility because we're used to being on our own. But then they're still living at home with their parents. Yeah, they might like pay a bill or anything, but they don't understand like, oh shit, I have rent coming up. I have this coming up. I have my phone bill coming up. They don't understand that because they're still at home with their parents.
And not
so
just
do
that,
you feel that staying at
exactly?
Do you feel staying at home with your parents hinders your financial growth?
No.
Or financial.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying that we had to develop a bit more quicker than we needed to necessarily.
I mean, I would disagree to an extent because I know people who are fully supported by their parents, and for that reason, they have zero financial sense. So it probably would have been better if they were home under their mother's roof and they kind of control what's going on than if they were out on their own and they're just sending them money.
But then it also like brings it back to like how the way you're brought up.
That's the main thing.
But sometimes you're brought up in a
I don't think
good quote unquote home and you still don't have any sense of understanding of
financial literacy is something.
I don't think it has to do with being brought up in a good home though.
Yeah, that's why
it's like the parents that have to like put it into.
Yeah, but when I say good home, I don't mean that you're wealthy. I'm just talking about like how you were raised.
Yeah, no, but it's up to the parents to put like that value of money into the child's head.
That's value.
It doesn't have to be money. Like in any situation, when you because you're bringing up a child, you're bringing up another human being to experience the world. You know how the world is because you're the human being that brought the child in. For whatever amount of time that you only, if it's 18 years, 25 years, whatever, you give birth to this child. You have to now raise this child in a manner so the child could be successful. So you have to instill good values into the child. It don't have to be finance. The child could be doing something wrong and you just populate. It's like, no, you have to teach that child a lesson. And then that lesson will trickle down into financial, academic.
But I don't feel it's solely based on your parents.
I feel like you could be raised in the best home.
Or you could be raised with them explaining financial literacy and you still don't value it.
When it comes down to they give you,
but it's not
they
their
give you $200, $300, $1,000, and you, as a child or even in this big grown age, you end up you spend it on shoes or you spend it on this, you spend it on that, spend it on a bunch of junk food. You don't even know where the money gone. You spend it on eating out. You spend it on this. You spend it on that.
Sometimes I feel like I can try to teach you, but you could only bring the horse to the water. You can't make them drink. For example, even for myself, I started working. I think when I was in 4th form. I don't know if y'all call it farms. That's like grade 10. That was my first job, I think. And like but it wasn't that my parents told me to go to work or anything like that. For me, it was just, in my mind, I just didn't want to feel like I have to depend on my parents for everything. If I want to go to a party next week, I don't want to ask anybody to buy me clothes and possibly tell me no. I don't want to ask them for money and they tell me no. Like, I want to be able to have that money on my own. My younger sister, she's not like that at all. She does not want to go to work. She wants you to give her money whenever she wants it, or whatever she wants, for wherever she wants it. And like, we had the same upbringing. So I don't feel like it's solely based on your parents, because they didn't raise us any differently, and she couldn't care less. She's just like, I am your child, and that's like, give me your money.
You could be financially independent and still not be like
Wise.
responsible.
Yeah.
Like, you can make enough money to keep you alive forever, right?
Yeah.
But if you was financially responsible or illiterate, that money could have done more than keep you alive.
You could have grown, expanded, sit back.
Investments.
I feel like it's just being,
Buying a house.
like, growing up, being exposed to, like, just small situations where your parents are like, okay, here's whatever, $200, you need to buy this, you need to have this, you need your school supplies, whatever. I give you the money, go to Aldi's, get what you need.
Yeah.
And make it last.
Some children will go to Aldi and they go with friends and they buy food and whatever, and they go and look a pair of shoes or whatever. And then some children will more be like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be getting. And then they manage it, and when they find they have a little bit left over, then they say, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Some children gifted. Some children so gifted.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
You give a child $50 to the grocery store, and they'll come back with groceries, and then the next week they come back with back home. A lot of kids flip things. Like, that's just the thing. Growing up, if you have this and you could sell it, we sell, like, everybody's selling everything. So that same $50 that you give a child for grocery, that same child who with the capacity to flip that $50 and come back with the groceries and turn it into money, I think that's a more financially responsible or literate person than somebody who just independent.
Okay, now this might seem like really sexist asking you guys this, but how would you feel if your wife had a higher paying job than you?
That's cool. I can't feel the way for that.
I'll figure it out. I on the stock market every day. I have tools. I get it.
At least at a time.
So you feel the need to be the breadwinner now?
At least time.
I don't want to be the breadwinner, but I don't want to be the loser.
If you make